This episode is dedicated to the memory of Barnaby Webber.
They're all saving one, or most of the Hampshire fielders are saving one. Somerset need one run. It's Edwards to Hildreth. He's there and bowls Hildreth, and he gets the run away through the onside, and Somerset have won. They've won the Royal London One Day Cup.
Good morning, you're listening to Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. This is the Somerset Cricket Podcast. My name's Ian Shepherd, and joining me this morning, it is bright and early, 9 o'clock on Saturday in the Roll-Off Van der Merwe Pavilion. I've got Dan Kingdom, Harry Everett, the voice of cricket on BBC Radio, Somerset, Anthony Gibson, and the unofficial nemesis of Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. Great to have you on, Don Topley, former Essex bowler and commentator. Don, thanks for coming on.
Thank you. I'll take nemesis, and I think that's quite creditable.
Great stuff. It was great fun listening to you and Anthony back and forth over the last week. I suppose should we start with the championship game down at Chelmsford? We'll get that one out of the way. You said on commentary a few times, Don, that the key to winning a championship game is bowling the opposition out cheaply once. Generally, when you do that, and that's what Essex managed to do, and that's what happened.
Yeah. Look. It was a used wicket. It was used in the second team T20 and a Sunrisers game. So it wasn't bright and fresh. In fact, I did a video on a bright and fresh wicket adjacent, a little bit over to the pavilion. Did it. They all laughed at me and they said, "You've chosen the wrong wicket." And there were no stumps out. And they moved it across to the Hughes one. I had to do the video again. But listen, it was an important toss. It really was. Look, we know tosses are important, but whoever batted first batted on the best part of that wicket. And it just got a little trickier, perhaps each innings. Essex batted really well. Somerset bowled very well. But Somerset, as I came back on day 4, I had a day off on day 3, saw Anthony. And Anthony was quite cock-a-hoop because in that first hour or a bit longer on day 4, Somerset never lost a wicket. And we're looking good. We're looking quite set. But then it happened and Harmer got involved and Seamers got involved and gradually Somerset capitulated and it was all over near to lunch, after lunch.
Yeah, they took not the extra half hour, but the extra 20-odd minutes that you can when a team's 8 or 9 down just before a break. That last morning, Rue and Abel seemed to be going on serenely. Simon Harmer got James Rue caught at slip. Tom Abel caught snick behind just after the second new ball was taken, and then Casey Aldridge went the ball after, and it was pretty much a procession from there. Dan, you were there.
It was always going to be hard. Always going to be hard.
Dan, you were there for a few days, weren't you, down at Chelmsford?
Just day 1.
Just day 1? What, have you got a job or something?
Well, funnily enough, I do. Funnily enough, I have to maximise the weekend cricket I go to because
it's a good job. There's plenty of it coming up in the rest of the season.
But yeah, I mean, on that day, I thought we bowled reasonably well. But obviously, Alistair Cook is obviously a very good batter, and he always does well against us. Matt Critchley as well is obviously in great form at the moment. We did what we could. I think Aldridge and Davey were perhaps not quite at their best. I think Davey, I'm a bit worried about him in the championship at the moment. Like, he's definitely gone down a few notches since 2020, 2021. He was really at his peak then, wasn't he? But he's not quite been the same since. So that's a shame. I think Bashir bowled well. I think that was a positive from the match, wasn't it? In general, I think he's and in the last games he's played as well. So that's good. But yeah, overall, it was at the end of the day, I was thinking, it's going to be a real struggle to get a result out of this game. And we know Essex, obviously, at Chelmsford are very, very strong. They've only won there once since the start of 2019. So it was always going to be tough to win. And obviously, it wasn't a complete flat one like it was last year. So the draw was always going to be difficult as well.
Yeah, I mean, just talking about young Bashir, I mean, match figure, well, what did he get? 1 for 124 in the first innings, none for 58 in the second. But Gibbo, I think we can all agree that he bowled better than those figures suggest.
Yeah, I thought he bowled very nicely, flighted the ball well, varied his pace. Didn't get much turn, although he did get a couple to turn into Alistair Cook in his very first over, which is a bit of a feather in his cap. And I spoke to him at the end of close of play on that day. And very nice, well-spoken, pleasant young man he is too. But he's not the immediate answer to some of Somerset's problems, which can be summarised, I think, with the batting lacks depth and the bowling lacks bite. Apart from Overton and Henry, the backup bowling is frankly not good enough. And as with in T20 cricket, if you get rid of the first 4 or 5 Somerset batsmen, there isn't much depth left there because Gregory hasn't been getting runs. He wasn't obviously playing at chance. But Craig Overton, I don't know quite what's happened to his batting. Casey Aldridge, I think, is rather flattered to deceive, and then you've got Josh Davey and
his 100 up at Lancashire was reminiscent of Gooch in '91 against the West Indians.
George Bell bowled again this week. Do you see that?
Yes, it did. Got wicket.
Got him in for. Yeah,
a wicket. But I'd say, we didn't have much luck with 1 or 2 of the umpiring decisions. To put it mildly, and 1 or 2 of them were pretty shocking, and that applied to both sides. I would say it wasn't just Somerset who got dodgy decisions. But Tom Abel, when I spoke to him at the end, he said, "Well, Essex were the better side. We were outplayed. It's fair enough." And I think that just about summarises it.
Yeah, I mean, Harry, you watched a lot of it as well. What were your thoughts on?
Yeah, I was glued to the stream all week. To be honest, I thought Craig Bush. Yeah, I'm sure Bashir. I was going to say he bowled well.
For a minute.
I was going to go on Craig, and I thought I'd start with Bashir. So if we could combine them both, if you could bowl off spin at Craig's pace, that'd be phenomenal, wouldn't it? But no, I think we talked about Bashir last night. That I think he's going to be more of a championship bowler than a T20 bowler. I think he's not much of a fielder or bat as well. So I think you can get away with that in the championship, the Red Bull game. I think that will be where he finds. He's going to be ahead of Roland van der Merwe now, I think, as that second spinner when Leach is away or injured. So that was promising. I don't think there's much else to say, really, that we're not going to go into the shocking ankle boot, short leg, Nick Brown again. But that's one that Somerset fans can be close for a while.
At the lunch on Thursday, he said that the Essex team came out and apologised about that. So
yeah, fair play to him.
Yeah.
I think one thing to just say about that incident is that on Twitter, obviously, the only video that was put on Twitter that I saw was the slow motion version. And let's just not forget the umpires didn't get to see it in slow motion. And if you look at it sped up, it is much more difficult to tell that it bounced. Yeah. I mean, it was a poor decision, but it wasn't as easy to tell what happened at normal speed. So I think it's got
Twitter doesn't tell you everything yet. No, replay on the YouTube and watch it.
It wasn't the decision as such. It was the way that he then consulted David Mills, then consulted Nigel Long at square leg, and Nigel Long hadn't the faintest idea what had happened because he was.
Can see.
Nick Brown was between him and the edge of his boot, and then when you've asked your colleague, and Nigel Long would have said, "Well, I didn't see it," and then to give the batsman out just seemed to be, there was obviously doubt there. Otherwise, he wouldn't have spoken to his...
I don't know. Unless he was just playing devil's advocate here. Unless he was thinking, well, I think it's out. I'm going to ask my colleague if he's seen a reason why he shouldn't give it out.
Well,
maybe that's the only thing
both umpires were blinded, as Gibbo has just said. Square leg umpire was blinded by Brown himself, but Dixon, I think it was, got in the way as he backed up from Milnes, so Milnes couldn't see. And I think I can remember an incident back in my day that I got a bit of a telling off, or I got told I did the umpire, and the umpire said, "You did me." And I think that would have occurred. And I think as we've heard that the Essex boys apologised. Look, they did it within good faith of the umpire's got to make the decision. They weren't 100% sure, maybe in retrospect. And of course, even
I'll just take issue with that. The way that they all charged off and hugged each other was...
The only one who may have seen it, and not been blinded by anything was perhaps Harmer. Everyone else around the back could have been blinded.
The point fielder could probably have seen, couldn't he?
Yeah, possibly. But I do think, I said to Gibbo on commentary later, I said, I do believe the umpire, David Milnes, who doesn't take a backward step at any time, and any decision would have gone up to Harmer and said, "You've done me there." And look, it wasn't nice. And in real time, and of course we don't often have the benefit, even county cricket has the benefit of TV, but we in our Essex potting shed, we struggle with the streaming. Unfortunately, it's not the greatest. And in live, I thought it must have come off his boot and gone up. That was my initial reaction from 60, 70 metres away. So I regret it, and I think it's terribly sad. But unfortunately, Somerset are owed one. Maybe it was a directive from the ECB. I'm only joking.
Anyway, we won't go on about conspiracies. You mentioned Sean Dixon there, just who would have been blocking the umpire's view, backing up. We talk about Dixon now. Doubled, probably even trebled his tally of championship runs for this season, combining a very nice unbeaten 82, carrying his bat in Somerset's first innings of 167 all out. Got the 18 he needed to complete a match 100. If that is a stat, Dan, I don't know if you compile those or not. And also a very smart piece of fielding to run out Matt Critchley going for the fourth. So and adding that to the scores that he's been getting in the T20, do you think he's finally shaken off those early season blues and the world is now his lobster?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think it'd be fuming if I was Sean Dixon running out of partners, not just 100, but just some sensible batting to get Somerset to a better score to get them in the game. There were some pretty poor shots down the lower order, and he was set and he was going nicely and just needed someone to stay with him. But I've liked Dixon all along. I know he struggled in the championship at the start, but he's gone in and got runs in the twos. He's got a few T20 runs in the twos and now in the first team. Was a little bit unlucky with that run out last night going for a misfield, and a little bit suspect with the Sam Curran elbow on the stumps. But we won't go into another decision. So, yeah, I think positive on Sean Dixon. Oh,
I haven't seen that on replay, the Sam Curran. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that one in a minute. Gibbo, you, what's your thoughts on Dixon? Just looked good, didn't he?
Well, he batted very well. And he's another one. I finally got the chance to interview him after he carried it. First time first time I'd actually met him, and he's very nice chat.
That was the main focus of his disappointment over the last few games. He's been coming home, throwing his car keys down, going, "I still haven't got to speak to Gibbo."
But it clearly meant a lot to him, I think, to finally have stood up and showed what a good player he is. Because he's a good team man, and he's been trying his heart out and just not getting it quite right. So I felt very, very happy for him, and he batted very well. And it was disappointing that he got out cheaply in the second innings, caught a rather soft catch in the covers. Not quite sure what he was trying to do, but. I'm still not convinced by Lammonby and Dixon as an opening partner. Lammonby batted very well in the second innings. He batted as well as I've seen him. Well, I don't know, since sometime last season when he got that 100 with Tom Abel against Northants. But Dixon. Yeah, I think he's secured his place for the next few games. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Talking about iffy shots then, Lammonby and Kola Cadmore in the first innings. Lammonby's had a kind of nondescript flap at a ball that was slightly short of a length outside his off stump, and TKC decided he was going to take on 3 boundary riding fielders to the longest probably one of the longest boundaries in county cricket, because the pitch at Chelmsford was right over one side of the square, so it was almost a 1/4, 3/4 arrangement there. Various people defending him on Twitter saying that's the way he plays, but I'm more of the opinion that you still have to play the percentages when you are going to be aggressive. Don, you're nodding, you're agreeing. Talk about the demise of another Somerset batsman with gusto then. Come on.
Listen, I think he's a terrific cricketer, and he will make a huge impact for Somerset, but I thought it was a little careless. I'm being diplomatic. With that huge boundary, it was MCG distance on that leg side to the pavilion, and Harmer tossed it up and he took him on. And, you just mentioned about your spinners, and I think Dixon, Alistair Cook and Dominic Sibley simply haven't got that Bazball memo yet. But what I found, Dixon was terrific to watch and showed tremendous guts. Maybe Kola Cadmore didn't, but just going back to your spinner situation, which I learnt about Bashir and looked all the part on the 4 days when he bowled, Somerset needed that fighting spirit from someone like Roland van der Merwe. You discount him, it's not the future.
I don't think I discounted Roloff. Roloff can be playing 70 and he'll still be up for it.
I've gone off at a little bit of a tangent, but that I love that fighting spirit. You need it. You need those sort of unglamorous fighters in your team. And Somerset needed him because, some of those dismissals were poor and created pressure and the problems for Somerset in that game. So, Kola Cadmore, terrific cricketer, is going to be a bit of a legend for you guys. I do believe in time, but at Chelmsford, he let you down.
I think I love Roland van der Merwe, love his spirit, love his field, and love his white ball cricket. I just think the way he darts in and fires it in now doesn't really look for turn. I think in a 4-day pitch when you're bowling for ages, I think Bashir trying to get it up there, flight guy alternate, probably would have suited better. And sadly, Roloff's not done a lot with the bat this year since his miracle at Bristol. Even last night, he got a chance a little bit higher up at last, but just doesn't look quite right with the bat this year. Doesn't look in form, not had many chances.
I agree with you, Harry. That's exactly what I was going to say. I'd back his inclusion if he was in any sort of form with the bat, but he's not. In all honesty, I don't think he would strengthen the side. I'd rather see Lewis Goldsworthy come back in when he's fit.
He got injured at the wrong time, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He really deserves a chance, does Goldsworthy.
He's injured now, is he, Lewis?
Yeah, he's
got a rib injury. It's quite quiet, but it appeared on the preview saying that he's got a rib injury. Just one more point about Roloff as well. I think because from September he's on a white ball only deal. I think he was in the squad for Chelmsford, but I think we're just prioritising looking to the future with Bashir. Getting him in now. And as we said, he bowled well. So don't have too much.
The other equation, interesting one, when you talk about batting. Banton, another chap who I quite like, and I think it was Anthony said somewhere on Twitter or outside of the Essex Somerset game, if you don't use him, you could lose him, and that would concern me because you don't want to lose someone like Tom Banton.
Yeah. Quite right.
He's a bizarre one, Banton, because he couldn't buy a run in club cricket, St Andrews. He couldn't get any runs in the twos, kept failing. And then first game of the Blast, he come into runs and he's pretty much got in pretty much every Blast game. Done well and looked good. He is a quality player and we want to get him in the team, but he was just in no form before the Blast. But having got runs at Chelmsford last year.
In the 2 second 11 warm-ups, literally 2 days before the first game against Hampshire, didn't he? He was... it didn't look like he didn't know which end of the bat to hold, but just came good. He's got a plan, Banton. You don't have to bowl to him now because you just bowl in 2 good length balls on off stump, opening up, and he'll sort of go, oh, and then he'll just go, sod it, and then just reverse it over third for 6.
First 2 boundaries behind the wicket, weren't they?
Yeah.
Well, Mark Davies reckons he's changed his technique a bit. There's more top hand in it now, and he's playing the offside shots much better this season than he did last. And I think he is good enough to thrive in red ball cricket. but he'll thrive with somebody else if he doesn't get a game soon.
Yeah, I think he might be picked ahead of George Bartlett anytime soon, to be honest. Especially if Goldsworthy's out for a couple of weeks.
With this 1st of June deadline date, you'll find that, like Dan Lawrence, you will find they're already in discussions with their agents and counties. The 1st of June was the old 1st of August, and I'm afraid people will be changing counties or going on loan, and there'll be a lot more happening before the end of this month.
That's just if you're in the last year of your contract, though, isn't it?
Correct.
Banton isn't. He's on. I'm just loading up my spreadsheet.
He's got one more year.
One more year. You don't need a spreadsheet. Dan will tell you. Yeah, I think it is only. Who have we got out of contract this year? So Bashir's signed an extension, hasn't he? What's he now here till 2025?
Yeah,
2 years.
Yeah. So Aldridge, Bartlett, Umeed, Lewis Gregory still not announcing an extension for that one, which is getting slightly concerning. Steve Davis and Jack Brooks are...
And Andy Mead lost his record this week, didn't he? Dom Sibley took his slowest 100 record away from him.
Yeah.
I think Andy Mead will go, to be honest. I don't think he'll get another contract, if I'm being brutally honest.
He's not really done enough in the play for the seconds, has he? I think
if he's not getting a game when both openers are struggling, then he's not going to get a game, is he?
No, exactly. And I think I would.
The only thing that might save him though is if Davis goes, and to be honest, I think Davis is very likely to be released at the end of the year. We will need a backup opener, so maybe that will save him.
They might shoehorn Goldsworthy or Banton, or I wouldn't have thought Bartlett, but
I could see that happening as well. Yeah.
Rude's the one. Get Rude to open. Give Banton the gloves.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thought. Listen, don't disagree. You don't want to lose Banton.
No.
We definitely don't. Dan Lawrence is off to Surrey. That was a little bit unexpected, given that Surrey don't seem to have many holes in their championship batting lineup. But it's not immediately obvious that he'll even get a game. But I suppose he will. He's the next cab off the rank in terms of the England batting lineup. He's a reserve batter in the Ashes squad, so. You thought he would get picked, but it's ahead of who?
There was rumours around for a little while. And look, Surrey, obviously you've got London waiting, or whatever you call it these days, but Surrey don't offer huge salaries, be honest. It was a bit of a surprise that it happened now. And a lot of Essex are very anti now, saying he shouldn't play again. But how can I say this? Dan's future father-in-law is the chief executive at Essex. So
that's got to be on the dinner table at Christmas.
I would have thought so. And of course, he does captain, like Tom Abel. Tom's captaining the Welsh Fire. Dan Lawrence he's already been selected as the captain of the London Spirit. Because I do believe in the 100 they want some younger captains, younger British captains, UK captains. So look, disappointing for Essex, but am I surprised? I think he wants to play in front of a huge crowd on a good surface where he knows he can get runs, and it's a great stadium. It's not a county ground, it's a stadium, and it fills up quite regularly, so it's a very special place.
I think that's 19 players of international caps now on the Surrey books.
Is that all?
Is it?
But yeah, I agree with Shep that it sounds daft. He might struggle to get in the best side. Jamie Smith's quality, I think he's going to be a serious hand. Him, Ben Folkes, Sibley, Burns, Tom Latham coming at 3. There's always going to be an overseas batter there. It was Amler currently it's Tom Latham. So to get into that top 5 is pretty hard to break into if Folkes isn't going to play for England and Smith's just improving. You don't really want to bring Dan Lawrence in at 6 or below. Seems a bit daft. I've probably forgotten someone else. All the all-rounders can bat higher.
I think he's there to when you lose Pope. Pope won't play too much, will he?
Yeah.
So he replaces Pope initially. Maybe Dan Lawrence is a bit lucky to be involved in the England setup just at the moment.
Yeah,
quite lucky.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. Right, anything more on Essex then before we move on we've got 2 more defeats to talk about yet, which is, I think this is a record, talking about 3 defeats in one podcast. But we have got a glorious victory to talk about against that lot from up the road. Should we start there then? No, let's do it sequentially in order. Hampshire then, narrow loss down at the Ageas Bowl. Will Smead returning to form, 52 from 32 in that chase, which we really did cock up.
Yeah, again. Well, not again. That was really the first time we cocked up again last night. But it was that Hampshire game that rather set the tone. You know, we were ahead of the game at the halfway stage, and then the middle order just fell away. And if the top 4 don't get runs, or when the top 4 are out, then Somerset really struggle.
Well, yeah, Lammonby, you don't want to put it all on one guy's shoulders, but at that crucial time when the chase was just boiling up nicely, he just looked stuck at 8 off 14 balls. He kind of looked like he didn't really know whether to stick or twist, and he ended up just trying to. I don't know. It was just frustrating. He just couldn't seem to execute.
It's that classic situation, isn't it, of not knowing whether to get the other guy on strike or try and hit a boundary, because you think, right, okay, I'll try and hit a boundary, I'll back myself, swing, miss, oh, crap, okay, I'll try again, okay, swing, miss, oh, okay, I'll try and dodge a single, and then, that might go straight to a fielder, and suddenly you face 3 dot balls, and in a pressure situation, the required run rate is going up and up and up, so I felt really bad for him, but unfortunately it's not the first time this year, is it? It was Sussex at Hove when he also had a similar innings, and obviously this innings at Hampshire has resulted in him being dropped from the T20 side, which is a shame for him. We know he can do it in T20 cricket. He's, the innings in 2021 against Lancashire and Gloucestershire are obviously absolutely incredible. So he'll be back. Just needs obviously a bit of time just to work on a few things, I guess. And obviously he looked a much better player opening against Essex. Obviously the opening slot is not going to be open regularly for him because we've got Smead and Banton, but he looked a much freer player in the power play, didn't he? So you never know, maybe one day he'll, that'll become his position, depending on how things play out.
Yeah, I agree with that. He did look class. My only slight caveat is I think Nathan Ellis is underrated. I think he's honestly one of the best T20 bowlers in the world. We've seen it in the Big Bash. 4 overs, 1 for 26, class with his slower balls and just doesn't give much away. I mean, even John Turner coming in on debut, ex-university lad who hadn't played much at this level, was pretty miserly with the ball. They are a decent bowler.
He bowled really well, Turner. Yeah. I don't know how we let him slip through our fingers, but he really looked the part.
Yeah, contacts with the coaches from school back in Africa, actually. So.
Yeah, I mean, look at some of the bowling figures of those Hampshire seamers towards the back end of that innings. I mean, Turner bowled his 4 overs, 2 for 30. Ellis 4 overs, 1 wicket for 26, and Dawson as well only went for 7 and over across his 4. So they just put the squeeze on at the right time, and we didn't really have an answer to it, which is
big field as well. Ageas Bowl. I feel like we struggle at bigger fields. We're not quite used to it. The dimension's a bit more Australian-esque. Probably suits Nathan Ellis. We're used to our short boundaries, whacking it around Taunton. Well, Ageas Bowl's got a Test match now, hasn't it, in a couple of years, and the Ashes. But it's a slightly different game, I suppose.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about the size of the boundaries down at the Ageas Bowl. And they used to have, going back years, they've always had 2 or 3 spinners who bowl their allocation. And it's a different game playing on those big boundaries. The Oval have incorporated it for a couple of seasons as well in their successful T20 side. When you play at Chelmsford, Hove, Taunton, entirely different game on T20 cricket on those boundaries, definitely.
Yeah.
Moving on then to last Friday. This is going to be the highlight of the show now. So everybody put your best bib and tucker on. Here we go. Victory over the Gloucesters by 80 runs. Will Smead once again avoiding a jug by getting himself out in the 90s, but 94 off 35. Superb effort. I think it's probably his best innings for Somerset. I know he's got in the 90s before, but this one was just seemed to be at a different level. TKC 30 off 15, 231 for 4, and then skittling the Gloucesters out for 151. Josh Davey taking 3 wickets and 3 for Shoaib Bashir and Roloff van der Merwe. So good to see the spinners doing the business up there at whatever it's called now. Not Neville
Into-
Road. It's not the bright side. It's
Seat Unique
Seat
Stadium. or
Unique
the Seat-
Stadium.
the Seat Unique Stadium.
I never know if it's Seat Unique or Seat Unique. That's what
It's
I was
Seat.
looking at.
It's Seat. It's a ticket company. You use it to get tickets for concerts and other events
The
and things
Riverside
like
ground
that.
up at Durham's called the Seat Unique Stadium as well. So how can you have
It's
two
Unique Riverside.
How can you have two
Yes.
unique stadiums?
Well, you've got.
You can't.
Exactly.
No,
Their
go
branding
back
is
to
everywhere. There's so many county grounds now. Seat Unique. Somerset's one of the only grounds without Seat Unique branding around the ground. I said I don't think I've seen it in Taunton.
Probably
Not yet.
It'll probably
Yeah. No, Shep, go back to the spinners. I thought well worth point making is Jack Taylor and Tom Smith have been Gloucester spinners for years in T20 cricket, and a lot of their success has been built around them bowling at the Neville Road ground, we'll call it. And the fact that only got 2 overs from Smith and an over from Taylor going for 18, both of them going 18 and over. I think that was crucial. You think Smeed whacks them over mid wicket. That I think Somerset had this targeted, concerted effort to whack the spinners. Zafar Gahar was still expensive, getting 2 for 44 for his 4. He's a class above the other two, you'd probably say, the overseas. But I think that was massive. And then you look at it, and then Roloff and Shoaib Bashir getting the wickets. Maybe we out-bowled their spinners, I guess you'd probably say from that.
It was a pretty weak Gloucestershire side, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
If we'd lost to them, it would have been very, very poor indeed.
Charlesworth looked good, though, didn't he? A young lad.
Yeah, he was okay. And David Payne, is still an absolute class act and bowled very, very well at the top. But they were missing, I don't know, half a dozen players through injury and various other things, and they're not the strongest side in the country in the first place. So, yeah, it was a good win, but it was a bit bloodless, in all honesty.
They do seem damaged by injury. Well, last year all the loans, didn't they? Gloucestershire always seem to have injured bowlers.
Yeah. They haven't had much luck at all, poor old Gloucester, this season, what with their first game being completely rained off in the Championship.
Tell me, do a lot of Somerset fans go to that game?
Yes.
Yeah.
I went. There was quite a few there.
Big crowd, capacity crowd?
Yeah, I think it was sold out.
Yeah, it was sold out.
Yeah. Horrible
It was
ground.
interesting actually because I'm not a fan of it. It's interesting because the seats were all full, but there's a lot of people standing. There must be a lot of people. They must sell more tickets than there are seats, and a lot of people must go expecting to stand. They're standing in front of the beer tent basically, so it's obviously easy access to the beers. But yeah, I found that interesting. Canterbury, I think, is similar as well. There seems to be a lot of people who stand around the ground.
That bit by the car park's got like a big standing area where they put the beer tent, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, that's where it was. Yeah, we were standing.
Did we use?
We didn't really have that
We used to
sometimes.
do a standing ticket, did we?
Not sure.
Okay, doesn't matter. If anybody knows, let me know. Right, so moving then on to anything more about the Gloucester's game. I'll be honest, it feels like it was about 6 months ago. There's a reason why we do these every week, so I can remember what the bloody hell's gone on. So it is fresh in the memory, though. Defeat at home to Surrey last night. Will Jacks anchoring Surrey's total of 195 for 9. They're 80 for 1 at halfway, so 115 runs in the last 10 overs. Matt Henry expensive, went for 54 in his 4 overs, but most of those, what was it, 28 off that?
31.
31. Bloody hell.
31 off the 19th.
There was a wide in there as well, yeah. 31 from that penultimate over from Chris Jordan. And then that over where we lost, what was it, Banton, Dixon, and Gregory in the same over is really, I think Jason Kerr said we're in the game for 38 overs of the 40, and I think he's probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah, bang on.
It was won and lost in those 2 overs. Although, again, it exposed the lack of power hitting in the Somerset middle and lower order. I was saying on commentary, if they can get rid of the top 4, then Surrey are going to win this quite comfortably. And again, we got a good start. We were in control at the halfway stage, and then just fell away. Which is
on paper, Gregory, Green, Van der Merwe, Overton, they are power hitters, but a lot of them,
then,
apart from maybe Green, there's not done much this year, have they?
But they're not getting any runs.
Yeah.
And you look at Henry and Davey, quality 10 and 11. Do you think that really from 6 or 7 down, they could almost bat in any order. Part of me thinks if Roloff, Gregory, and Overton keep failing, why not let Davey and Henry have a go with the bat at 8 and 9? It's not that much difference from 8 to 11. Just reshuffle a bit. Roloff got a go last night slightly higher than previous weeks, but did nothing.
But in T20 cricket, like the game you experienced at Bristol, where you guys got, 230, suddenly there's so much pressure on the opposition. And I felt watching last night, Surrey probably shouldn't have got 195. They probably were looking at, well, they weren't looking at a huge score at one point earlier in the innings. I reckon, Somerset should have looked and said 170 max. But unfortunately, they got 195, which then creates immense pressure on your middle order when you lose a wicket. Can I just add one point as well? When we just going back to the Banton argument, going back that we discussed about use him or lose him, don't forget there was another chap formerly of Somerset who was pigeonholed, who didn't like being pigeonholed with the way he was used at Taunton, Jamie Overton. And he's gone to the Oval, gone away.
Butler for a minute.
I thought you were going to say many. Could have said Byron or Hose.
I think Jamie
or Gilchrist.
Yeah.
Jamie Overton's a good example for me because he wanted to develop his batting. He was disappointed where Somerset put him. He was labelled whatever he was labelled as. He was only that at Somerset. And he's gone away and he's developed himself as a genuine all-rounder, a wonderful fielder, and a sought-after commodity. But back at Somerset, he wasn't used in the right way, according to my humble opinion.
I couldn't agree more, Don. I think he's a much, much better cricketer, Jamie Overton, now than when he left Somerset back in 2020. He's really responded well to whatever they're doing.
And that comes down to, in my book, that great golden word of opportunity. And again, I'm just saying the same about Banton. He needs opportunity because he is a decent cricketer.
Yeah, don't forget, Jamie got 20 off 9 balls. Hit those 2 sixes and lovely shot for 4 through the covers. Well, I thought he looked quality with the bat.
Surrey have had a problem this season. I don't know if you noticed. Surrey have had a problem in that they've struggled with a number 4. Earlier in the season in T20, they had Tom Curran batting at 4. And he isn't a number 4. They almost had 6 number 6s or 6 number 7s, of which Jamie was one of them. But Jamie is better than a number 7, and he's been given the opportunity. They always like him to come in with 5 overs left. But Tom Curran isn't a number 4, and gradually he's gone down to the extent they had to play Ben Folkes as a batsman in a T20. I think it was at Canterbury. They were struggling. If their top order, Will Jacks is a sensational cricketer. And going back to Roland van der Merwe, you said he's not the future. For me, Moeen Ali isn't the future. And I would have played Will Jacks in that position for me, because that strengthens England's batting. And he's a learning off spinner. Will Jacks is much better as a spinner in T20 than Moriarty and even a chap that was on your books for a game, Verdi.
Yeah, I jokingly said that Surrey's tail starts at 3. They got so many bowlers, 3 to 11. They all bowl. They can go in any order. The only other one is Jamie Smith, which I'd have probably gone Narayan at 3, Sam Curran at 4, and Jamie Smith at 5 would look more of a top 5 batting wise. But they got so many all rounders. They mix them up. Narayan down at 9 looks daft, but he didn't even look interested. He turned up a 5:45, bowled awfully. I've never seen him bowl so badly in all the cricket I've watched him over the years. 55 is 4 overs and whacked 1-6 for the bat and dropped a catch off Abel when Abel was on naught, and that was pretty crucial,
he didn't
really.
Drop it. He barely made.
He put his hand there, didn't he?
It was a token effort.
Yeah.
It was like the under 11 kid who don't want to be there, and he's scared of a cricket ball training on a Friday night. It was awful.
Far easier than Atkins' catch that got the Cadmore, wasn't it?
Anthony and myself were talking about the great fielders today in modern day cricket, and we were struggling to find a donkey. I'd forgotten about Noreen.
Somerset took all 9 catches last night. All 9 wickets were catches in the outfield. Not even close in. Not even caught behind.
There was some tremendous catches last night, weren't there?
All in the deep, yeah. Great fielding. The only one, if I'm really harsh, is the ball before Abel took one. Was it out of mid-wicket, he maybe could have dived, but after that collision at Sussex with McAndrew and Shadab Khan, I think we'll let him off if we didn't want to smash into Lammerby.
Yeah. Ben Green again, another 4 wickets, all caught in the Ben Green slip cordon.
Mostly off full tosses.
Disguised full tosses.
Listen, when your luck's in as a bowler, enjoy it, because you'll have plenty of drop catches or great shots that the same ball goes for 6 instead. So while I'd be patting Ben Green on the back and say, continue on that rich vein of form and enjoy it while it's happening.
Yeah.
I don't think it is luck. I think it's deception and skill, because obviously,
well, there's some of that as well.
With all the analysis and the pre-match preparation that they do these days, you know, the analysts will be going, right, Ben Green has got, I don't know how many wickets it is, 20 wickets so far in the Blast.
More than Sam Curran.
How does he get people out? Well, people think they can take him on and smash him over the rope. Okay, what's happening there then? Because you can't have all these batsmen suddenly develop into terrible players when Ben Green bowls them a full toss that they would normally think they can smash over the ropes, and all of a sudden, for whatever reason, they are smashing it down, or they're not getting a hold of it and they're hitting it straight to a fielder. So he must be doing something.
It changes his pace really well. He's got a very well disguised slower ball, and you know, he bowls cutters. He does all sorts of things, and he's become a much better bowler. But he has had, you know, a fair slice of luck so far. And
but that's
there will
point,
be days.
Anthony, it might look like
Of
that,
course it is.
but is it skill?
Well, there is some skill in it, but luck plays a big part in cricket. You know, there is a lot.
That's
of luck
the voice of experience. You can't knock that. Cricket does require a large degree of luck. And I hope he continues to do well. And when you talk about luck and injuries, I hope he continues to have a lucky body, because in cricket, I always say you need a big heart, definitely, but you need a lucky body. So good luck to him. And Somerset need his luck at the moment. Yeah, definitely.
Long may it continue. And he is going to be off to the dark side by the sounds of things in the draft. I can't imagine that who would be ahead of him in this wild card draft thing. Not many, I don't think.
Parkinson and Lintott will probably get signed. They were surprise emissions, weren't they, in the drafts?
It's one a team, isn't it? So what? They're eight.
It's two this year.
So there's 16 players. So I can't see there being 16 players more likely to get drafted than Greener. So yeah, a message if you're.
We'll miss our one-day captain, won't we?
We will. And a message to all Somerset fans: if you are going to a one-day cup game, take your kit, because you might just get a game, because we seem to have lost everybody.
Are we still sponsoring it?
We asked. Oh, sorry. Yes, they always look on the bright side of life. One Day Cup. I do apologise. The new shirt for that went on sale in the club shop last night. It's got an interesting design. We'll put it that way. They've forgotten to put the star on it, which is a little bit annoying. The star is on the T20 shirt, but not on the on the One Day Cup shirt. Where's it gone? I'm just scrolling through my phone looking for it. Here it is. So it is maroon, black, pink with one yellow sleeve and one black sleeve. It's I mean, it's kind of, because the last two One Day Cup kits have been really nice. The 2021 one especially, that was beautiful, but this one just looks like how can I put it nicely?
You read the gump around the story of it.
Well,
like,
I know those two little black lines look like the lines that go, I don't even see it, either side of the sponsor's logo they're on. There's two little black lines, and they look like the little lines that go next to the stumps on the whatever crease it is. And I know they did something similar with the One Day, the T20 shirts. There was some story behind, this is the diamond pattern. Oh, you see, you had it all queued up, Dan. Sorry, I'm rambling. I'm sure you can explain it in a much more erudite fashion.
No, yeah, all I know is it's inspired by an artist, I think, Mondrian, I think. And the reason for that yellow arm is to signify all the great left-handers we've had in our history in one-day cricket, which is quite funny, actually, because a left-handed batter actually shows their right shoulder to the bowler. Yeah. So it's, yeah. So I'm not sure they fully thought that one through.
All the great left-handers.
Dan, are you sure you didn't design this?
No, I tell you why, because it would have been a lot nicer if Dan had designed it. It would have been a lot nicer if Harry designed it. It would have been a lot nicer if Gibbo designed it. Toppers, it would have been a lot nicer if you designed it. It probably would have been a lot nicer if my little girl had designed it, to be honest. But it's a bit hodgepodge. So all the great left-handers, that's a weird category.
Here we are.
That's a weird category to honour, left-handers. You can understand it if it was, we had a maroon sleeve for all the great West Indians, or something green for all the great Pakistanis, or something like that. But
is yellow the colour of a left-hander?
Yeah, it's to do with the Somerset flag, I think. It's. I'm just reading it now. From an extended SCCC brand palette, and is reminiscent of the work of Mondrian and the Style movement. Yeah, the left-hand sleeve was deliberately made a striking yellow to represent some of the great left-handers who represented the club in one-day competitions, such as Brian Rose, Peter Denning, and Marcus Trescothick. And there's various bits.
Chris Gale.
Yeah.
Brian Rose.
Yeah.
Let's just name all the left-handers instead. Justin Langer.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get 20 minutes out of David Somerset left-handers.
That's a better
Listen,
game,
I'll
isn't it?
be looking for it at my next cider festival. I'll be looking around, eagerly looking for one.
Well, there were a few about last night. I mean, I'm normally a great fan of. I don't like buying shirts. I like shirts with collars on rather than the
football style.
The T20 style. They seem to have got rid of the collars in T20 for a long time now, but probably be keeping my my 50 quid in my pocket for that one. Yeah, it's interesting, shall we say. And that was one of our listeners' questions. It was like, Blackstone photo. What on earth is this? Please discuss. And then he's kind of gone for a puke face emoji. Could have done better, I think. Far into listeners' questions then. Here we go. Unless we got anything more on Surrey from last night.
Our net run rate hasn't been damaged too much, so.
We are now second in the South Group of the Blast. Level on points with Surrey, but a slightly inferior net run rate, 1.847 to 1.648.
Could be a problem though if you look at the North Group. Someone like a Lanks could sneak through in fourth and haven't been rubbish all group stage. I could see someone like Lanks going on a run, and their good players will suddenly come good eventually. Yeah. It's going to be in the North Group's interesting. I think. Well, Essex will probably go on a run now. They got a game or two in hand. Worcestershire, I think, got a game in hand as well. But it's going to be interesting working out who actually goes through in the end.
Well, it's funny that
Essex need to keep winning, and they play your guys on Monday, which for me is now a key game. Essex play on Sunday at Middlesex. I mean, they've had a disaster. But Somerset, Surrey, Hampshire, and one of I wasn't confident about Essex. One of Essex and Glamorgan, I said. But
I like Glamorgan.
Double over Glamorgan. But you guys are going to be safe. You just want a home quarter final. Question for you guys, really: do you like quite often the winner of the South or the North has gone through to the quarter-finals but not gone on further? Do you think a rule change should happen that if you win your group, you should go straight through to finals day and the others have an eliminator like in the IPL? I'm in favour of that.
No, and get more money.
It costs a lot of money. Yeah, it costs a lot of money.
Quarterfinals the biggest money maker of the year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it is, but we often have them. We're not going to have them at the wrong time this year, but we've often had them in late August, September when there's dew around, and we've found the toss has been hugely important. I just want to get away from that.
I was fuming that the Derbyshire game was put on a Saturday night. Of all the nights to put it when everyone's trying to play club cricket, fortunately we got skittled at Sidmouth, so I legged it up there and arrived just as Bunton and Smee walking out to bat, but nearly missed the greatest T20 game in Somerset history because they played Saturday night.
But I just think it's reward for the team that wins your league, the North or the South, that you shouldn't get knocked out at first go in the quarterfinals. But that's my personal opinion.
Well, I think money talks.
The cricketing argument is yes. Do that, but then the bean counters behind the scenes will be we'll say, well, hold on, we've got a 50-50 chance of a great money spinner and selling thousands of pints of cider on a warm summer evening. So,
is that really should they really worry too much about that though? You're not, you're only going to get a home quarter final once every few years on average. Does it really matter if they occasionally lose out on that because instead they get to go straight to finals day? I don't know. I mean, I don't personally have a strong opinion either way. I think there are pros and cons. I think the quarterfinals are fun as they are, but yeah, I think there is a case for sure for rewarding the top teams having them go straight through. But I think the financial argument, I don't think the counties will worry too much about it. Just for the odd game every so often.
I'm not sure Gordon Hollins would agree with you.
I mean, they still could get quarterfinals, as we were saying. The second, third, fourth could still obviously play in some form of eliminator thing, so there still would be home matches.
Then that's financially penalising you for doing well.
Yeah, but you get the money of going to finals day, as in you get
a lot more money. A lot more money for quarterfinals and finals day.
It does great to win the group and do so well and clearly win it, and then lose a quarterfinal. That's that I know that's cup cricket, but what's the point in winning the group? You get nothing for it.
You're thinking Surrey against Yorkshire.
Yeah, well,
Jordan Thompson
there are lots of that argument. I mean, there was the situation, I think Sussex and played Worcester some years ago, and Carey dropped Moeen Ali, and they got booted out. Quite often, the side that wins that group doesn't always go to finals day.
That's why Somerset have started losing a couple tactically, just to
go try and work it out how often.
It's 4D chess. That's what we're doing.
Put it all under control.
Moving on, I just want to pick this one up from Jacob Lund. Surrey's conduct on the field, shushing the crowd, and Jamie Overton told a fan to come and give an opinion to his face. It was just a bit unprofessional, to be honest. You sat in Treslow, were you, Dan? Because I think that's where Junior Overton was fielding for what he was doing long on, so he would have been in that. Was there anything untoward there? I didn't see.
Yeah, let me just find Jacob's tweet a second. So, yeah, Jamie Overton did
basically. Dan, had you been in the ring of bells since lunchtime, and were you getting a bit gobby towards?
Yeah, it was actually me that he was gesturing to. There was some drunken fans, sort of the other side not in the lower tier, but the other side of it, near where between the lower tier and the commentary hut, the former commentary hut. I heard like traitor get shouted and a few things which weren't. I didn't hear anything massive
from the hospitality level.
No, on the ground.
On the hard standing.
Oh, that's why. Oh, right, yeah. But so where
they lean against the fence.
Yeah, where they put the covers. Yeah.
There was some. I didn't hear anything like ridiculously unpleasant, but it wasn't particularly nice. So I don't. All it was Jamie just telling him to come and say it's my face or whatever, and then I saw him having a smile to the 12th man who was nearby. I don't think it was anything major to worry about. I don't blame Jamie particularly. I think it's just Jamie's personality. And as I said this on the recent podcast, we don't want players to be robots. Jamie didn't do anything wrong, so don't have a major issue with it. I mean, I think I said the fans the drunk fans I had more of an issue with, really. I think they just need to calm down, and we don't really want players having traitor shouted at them, particularly
right.
In an unpleasant manner.
Right, Dan.
Yeah, I didn't see that. He looks like he's bulked up a lot, Jamie. Last night
he isn't doing the bowling, is he? He isn't bowling so much. He's just doing a little bit of return to bowling.
I wanted to say that earlier, but didn't know how to say it politely, so I bottled it.
I mean, it's not when you can see Craig and Jamie together on
massive
on the same
difference.
Field. Yeah,
he wasn't a boot last summer. To be fair, he was up at North Devon. I was up there a couple of games, saw him, and he, when you're normally fit and a professional athlete, when you're suddenly stuck in a boot, I guess you can't do as much exercise.
It is my humble opinion that he could become a really dynamic all-rounder, but predominantly with the bat, and then bowl some overs rather than the other way round. That's my honest opinion.
Another all-rounder for Surrey to try and get in the England team. That's the problem. Sam Curran, we should probably touch on that. The shushing was a bit weird. He shushed all the first wickets, then when he got five, there was no reaction.
Stop press. We are talking about Jamie Overton having a pot back. Jamie Overton has replied to Jacob's tweet. This is live. This is how's it happening. Oh my God! Right. Here we go. This is the thread then. Jacob, Surrey's conduct on the field, shushing the crowd and Jamie over to... By the way, Jamie wasn't tagged in this, so I don't know whether he searched his name or it's just popped up on... The way Twitter works. He knows how Twitter works these days. It's that
Have you got him live on this call, maybe?
that mad bastard brought it and has done all ridiculous things to it. Jamie Everett told a fan to come and give an opinion to his face. It was just a bit unprofessional, to be honest. Someone called Johnny Stackhouse was applied, but being jeered and ridiculed from the stands is all right, yeah. So I don't know what Johnny is. Let's look at his bio. He's a Leeds United fan, so that doesn't suggest any cricketing affinity either way. But being jeered and ridiculed from the stands is all right. Jacob has replied, to be honest, the crowd only reacted to the action and didn't provoke it. Jamie has then said, so are you suggesting that I started that?
I feel for Jamie a little bit.
End of story.
Yes.
I mean, they are nice guys, Craig and Jamie. I mean, it can be. I know it was really disappointing when he left, but he did leave for, I think we can all agree, the right reasons. It has paid off for him. You know, he was an England player. He's had unfortunate luck with injury, which means he's, that particular trajectory on his career hasn't quite gone the way that he wanted. But I mean, he's not a traitor. He's not a Judas. He's just a professional cricketer who has sought that word we were talking about earlier, opportunity, and he's done well.
He's not got a blue tick on Twitter, Jamie. That's a bit harsh.
Oh, you got to pay for him now.
Yeah, I thought he had one beforehand, but
he might. I don't know.
I quite like an honest competitor like the Evertons. You know what I mean?
I mean they do. I mean, obviously Craig replied to whoever it was. The Lancashire tweet the other day.
Livingston, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so talking about Somerset not wanting to set a game up and all that sort of thing. Oh, do I want to... This is going to be one of the most... Go and look at it on podcast, on Twitter anyway. This is going to turn into one of literally the most boring podcasts. I sit and wait for my phone to ping with another notification. I might just tag Craig. Say, Craig, do you want to get involved as well? This is great stuff. Right, and that has... unfortunately cocked up my list of...
I've got them if you like. They want to know about the catch. Max Waller's Curry. Catch and Curry, yeah.
Oh, Max Waller every time. John, we're going to have to leave your question for next week because it is a long one, but I'll just quickly finish up with, as we moved on to Max Waller, testimonial match we had down at South Devon on Thursday. Went really well. Matt Henry, thank you very much for giving up your time and coming down. He did a Q&A at the lunch. He didn't. That was the first time that you'd ever actually met Max, was when he turned up at the lunch down in Newton Abbot. So thank you, Matt, for coming down and giving up your time. He did a little Q&A while his wife and baby... I think she wanted to do some shopping, and I don't think she quite realised that unless she wanted to go to a charity shop or... buy some cards that Newton Abbot, or some coffee that Newton Abbot's probably not the best place for doing that. So I think she might have ended up going to the beach down Teignmouth. But lovely guy, lovely. Never met a Kiwi who's not a genuine bloke. Tom Abel as well, and the side that they brought down after 4 days in the dirt at Chelmsford was fantastic as well. So thank you to all the Somerset fellas that gave up their time. Hold on a sec.
What's he getting here?
That's probably a bit too much pause for Della. Do you see the orange flash that I brought down? I mean, Max and Richard Goodman, his testimonial chairman, bought some stuff down for their talks and talk about knowing your market. So I'm now the proud owner, as you probably saw on Twitter, of a signed T20 World Cup Netherlands shirt from the greatest player to have ever played the game, Roelof van der Merwe. I probably mentioned to him about 5 or 6 times about the pavilion. Roelof, when are you going to come and open the pavilion? Don't think I was probably that bad, but...
Did you ask for the shirt, or was that just given as a shut
I
up so he doesn't have to come to the pavilion?
Yeah, I paid for that. Or I kind of said, they brought it down for the auction. I said, how much do you want not to put it in the auction? So... it's me at the doghouse with the missus for a few days. But really good to see a county side coming down to support... support their local. Obviously, to support Max with his testimonial, do that local community outreach. I presume all the 100 teams do that, don't they? I mean, they're going to have testimonials in the 100, and all the players are going to go to their local sides.
And that is the end of part 1. I'm going to leave it there for now. We did go on for probably about another 45 minutes with Toppers and the rest of the 4 of us chatting about the 100, the evil 100, the dark side, the other competition, and what we can do to improve the fortunes of English domestic cricket. I'll be uploading that a bit later on today, just off to play now for South Devon seconds against Babbacombe second 11 at home. Hopefully I'll be returning with a few runs under my belt to pop that one up for you, but I hope you enjoyed listening to the first half, and the second half will be uploaded with you very shortly.